Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today we're going to take a look at an online exclusive bundle that has the Changing Leaves stamp set, the Changing Leaves dies, the hybrid embossing folder that the dies fit into this 3D embossing folder. So we're going to take a look at how I came up with 3 different cards, but I'm going to show you from the beginning of what my thought processes were with this. So whenever you open up these dies here, you're going to see these dies are connected. So the first thing I did was die cut that trio of cards out. And of course, what happened? This fell out, this fell out, and this fell out. That's great. Now, normally, I would think, okay, I'm going to try to, a lot of times with these things, the stamps are connected, but these stamps are not connected in the stamp set. So I had to think through the process of how I wanted to make this the most efficient way to work with this. So this is what I came up with. You all have, okay, we're gonna put this here. We know this comes out. I'm gonna show you what I did first. You guys, even though we don't carry a stamp positioning tool anymore, I know a lot of you have a Stamparatus, a lot of you have a Misty, a lot of you have a Tim Holtz. So you all have different positioning stamp platforms. So I'm going to show you how I used our Stamparatus. Now what I did is I took these individual stamps and I put them, I did a 7x7, so I filled up this whole area because I wanted space in between all my leaves. So I inked this up with black, stamped it, then I took my piece like this and I just carefully cut it apart in between the leaves, okay? Carefully cut them apart, and I got 3 different pieces here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, and we've done this in our classes before, I'm just going to put some glue around the images that I've stamped, because remember, a stamp positioning tool is wonderful for positioning your stamps whenever you want to get a darker image or you mess up and you have like a missing part. You can just stamp it right back down. Get a little bit in between, glue in between those little spots of your leaves too, because you want that piece to be down. So I find myself doing this technique a lot. Get some glue in there. Okay, so now I put some glue around that. Normally, if it wasn't a video, I'd like let it dry just a tad. Then you take these that we cut out, these what we call negatives, and we're going to place it right around the image. So this is awesome for doing die cuts, but it's awesome also to be able to get an image that has a perfect white or whatever, a perfect border there. So as you can see, and as you can see, I'm using vanilla as my stamped portion, and I'm using white as my template. And sometimes I do it the opposite way. That way you can actually see. Now this, I want to put a little bit of glue underneath this tiny piece here. And there is glue already there. Okay, so let me just glue that down without it getting stuck on my fingers. Okay, there we go. And we have our one last piece here. Now this may seem like a lot of fiddly work. So if you were going to stamp these on a design of your card, stamp them first before you put them on here. But really, honestly, this doesn't take much at all. Now this bigger one, I'm gonna play around with here a little easier, because do you ever stamp an image and then think the die doesn't fit, and really it was the image stretched on the photopolymer, and then you'll notice, okay, so that looks like you kind of just have to let it fall into place. And then just double check. That's the one that's a little tricky, that it's going to fit in there right. And it does fit. Okay, so the next step is you have your 3 pieces in there, right? And I spread them out enough because I'm going to want to stamp these images, okay? So I'm gonna stamp these images right now, and then we can set this aside. So I'm gonna put that one. You could do each one separately, but I think we can do all three at the same time because I gave myself enough room. And we're going to pick some traditional, no, we're gonna pick some non-traditional colors. We are going to be using for fall. Well, these definitely greens and wild wheats, those colors are fall colors, but we're gonna add some peacock in there. So what I wanna do is I want to make this biggest leaf here. They're all sat inside their little wells. I'm going to, and as you notice, I can stamp this easily. But if you want to do each one separately, you definitely can do that. But to be even more efficient, you can just ink up. And see, I have enough room around each image to do that. And now I'm using Mossy Meadow. That was wild wheat, pretty peacock. And Mossy Meadow. Now, this is a little hard to do on camera. I want to get that. Really easy to do this with the, if you're using a Misty, you probably want to use spots. I think my Mossy Meadow needs a little bit of ink. And I saw a little tiny blah blah in there. So I'm gonna come back and find a little scrap and get that off of there. And then come back with my wild wheat and stamp. Okay, so now all of my pieces are down in there and I can stamp one of these little, what do they call them, Chuckies? I got one of these from some Etsy place. Just helps to get all those images. Now we're gonna pull them up and look at that. This one right here is a little bit not, so what size is that right there? Okay, so I'm gonna just do the Mossy Meadow one more time. Like I said, I think it's I need some re-inking on that guy. There we go. Okay, so we have our three, and I do believe, yep, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna get my paper piercer here because my, you know, I went over and watched my grandson, and I swear I take everything from my stamping desk over, and I left it at my daughter's because I'm gonna go back over today. She is just 6 weeks away from delivery, so just going over to keep her a little bit of company and stuff like that. So I left my take your pick tool in my little stamping toolbox. So we've got 3 pretty colored leaves, and notice they're like perfectly stamped there, and you can do this over and over again. Just cut out those negatives and just do them again. So I'm going to use my chamois here. Man, I love this chamois. No lint. I cut mine in half, just keep them in a baggie. I always try to tell my girls at class to keep them in the baggies because they do dry out. So here we go. I just want to get that all off of my Stamparatus because we are going to use these on a card. But I want to show you, while I have that out, how even though I have these on here, I'm going to take this off that I have taped here, and I want to be able to stamp a leaf in. I could either do it there, I could do it there, but you have to figure out a way that it's going to go on your card. Do you think anybody would know if I don't use Mossy Meadow? But I'm going to, even though it was giving me a headache. I wonder if my other Mossy Meadow has a little more ink to it. Let me see if I can find it. I don't see it. So do I have a Nope, that's Garden Green. Let me look here at my, no. Is Mossy Meadow in the neutrals? I cannot find my little spot for Mossy Meadow. So we are just going to, because I won't be able to stamp over on this one because, I'll fix that problem. Let me wipe this off. I'm going to use the wild wheat that had a nice crisp, and it actually fits in there. Like I said, if you're doing the card before you do the placement, think about what you're doing. But here, I can easily put that down there. So I'm just going to use my wild wheat on this one. And then I'm just going to look and see where that might work out. And I can stamp that down, and that'll be on the inside of the card. There we go. Nice. Thank you, Stampin' Jesus. I just love the fact that no matter what you're doing, he's with you and willing to help always. So there we go. What did we do? We stamped those black images, and then we die cut around the die cut, and we've got our pretty little images. And then there's something else fun you can do with your embossing folder. A hybrid embossing folder has that die in it, right? So if I wanted to, which I'm going to do, I want to show you this. Okay. There we go. You would put you look at your Stampin' Up logo here, and I forgot to do this on this card, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to find a couple pieces here of you could put the pieces, this is a little bit trickier. I would probably die cut these pieces first and then lay them on here, but I want to show you what I did for this one. But what you do is you put this in here, and if you ran it 3 times with Peacock, Wild Wheat, and Mossy Meadow, you'd get the 3 different. Make sure you check back on my blog. I'm going to have a picture of that. But I'm going to show you now what you can do to emboss these. You would take the die out, and then we are going to, what did I want to do with this one? I wanted to give it some more dimension, okay? So I'm going to place this where it is. Now, notice on this card that there is enough space that I can actually tape down a little bit with a little bit of adhesive here. This is just called highlighter tape. I found it on Amazon. And I'm just going to line up that stamped image, and I'm going to put a little bit of tape on here to keep it in place. How about I do that before I know it's going to go here? I'm going to put a little piece here. Okay, so that I know it's going, and you have to look from the top where the Stampin' Up image is. So put that exactly in place. You can see where the embossed raised area is on the embossed area will go on the image. Okay, and then this piece here, we're going to do on this one. Whoop, throw this over here. I think I'm going to go ahead and tape this piece. There we go. And then I'm going to tape this piece here on this leaf that I stamped. Okay. You just line up the stamped image with the embossed lines. And again, it's a little tricky with your hands, and not as tricky for you guys if you're doing this at home and not making a video. There we go. Get the line up on that. Put a piece of tape there, and then one more little piece. I wanted to do this little bit of tape because I was afraid that it really was going to move on me. But once I close it, so let's just put that stamped image. The embossed images are right where it's stamped. Okay, and one little piece. Yeah, this card is for a special person, right? So now we can close that, and we just run it through our Big Shot or our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. We'll have this number 4. In the old Big Shot, it was a purple plate that you could see through, an acrylic one, but you have your base plate 1, 2, and you're gonna put this. You're gonna take the 2 out. You're just gonna have your base plate 1, put down your embossing folder with the binding on this edge to save the integrity, and put 4 on top of it. And then I'm just gonna roll this through. And of course, we're not doing it on my table because it'll be shaking. Okay, so here we go. Now we have these really fun embossed images. You can see the embossing there. And after I went through all of that trouble, I don't really think it made that much of an effect. You can see a little bit of it on that one. You really can't see it on here. So, you know what? Maybe that wasn't the most amazing thing, because it really didn't make very much of a difference there. So let's take that tape off of there. But we're going to get into making a card here. But what I really like, okay, is whenever you can put the cardstock in there. And like I said, I am going to put cardstock in there. And you would do it the same way. You just cut a blank wild wheat, tape it on there, and you're going to get the veining from the leaf on there. Okay, so we've got these fun stamped and embossed. But like I said, I don't think the embossing was really that significant. So what I'm going to do is come back here with this and show you again what I'm going to do here. I'm going to stamp my pretty peacock. So that was what I showed you as far as getting that you could take a stamped image and stick into. And what I'm just going to do is throw some blanks in here. Put that blank in there. I just got some green ink on my finger, so I have to, we're going to put this blank in here. A lot of times at class when we do this, I put the color that I actually used, but this time I just put the black in because I was just doing this for myself here. So put that in. Okay, and just to be sure, we've got our pretty peacock, our wild wheat, and our dried mossy meadow. Well, it's kind of making me think it's like I purposely variegated it. So as you see, all you had to do was cut through these blanks, and then you can just keep making many different leaves. And I don't really suggest what I just did, running them through, because you really don't see the, now see that didn't come through, so all I have to do is come back here and rub where it didn't come through, and it's perfect. That's what I love about a stamp positioning tool. And if you use it like that, it makes your stamping so much more successful. I just wish that we still had ours. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to set this aside. Okay, so I've showed you how to be able to make those leaves. Oh my gosh, look what I did. I got ink all over the place. So we're going to pretend that's not there. But I want to show you what I'm going to do with this card. You've got this really pretty card. I stamped, I couldn't have done it without you, in the circle, because these dies not only have that big die, but they also has, oh my gosh, you know, I could be a little more organized, huh? But you're used to me. You have all these wonderful dies in here. We're going to use these dies on a card, but you have these sentiment dies, and I used the circle, and then I used this die to cut out the thank you, but I'm going to show you how you can make it smaller on another card here we're going to do. So what I did here is I had all my blanks, and instead of doing any die cutting, I just look at the depth of this, of how pretty that, look how pretty that impression is. That's going to be on just a 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to put it onto a 4 1/4 by 11 that I scored at 5 1/2 in the middle. I'm just going to put that. Now I think I want to have the big leaf going up towards the top. So I'm just going to put that right centered. Hopefully the green is off my fingers now. I'm just going to put that on the card. Then I just wanted to take this and layer it over. Okay, so I'm just going to put some glue on that image that I inked up and stamped. And this is very easy to do here. There we go. And we can sneak back in. We could cut it right off there, but I kind of like it to be cut off at. So probably I should have put all of these on first. So look at that depth we have there, because now we have, you're still going to be able to see the embossing that's on the embossing folder. So now I'm just matching up these pieces. Okay, and like I said, it would definitely do this before. Wonder if I can get this a little bit here. Definitely do this before you adhere the white. I think I told you in another video the other day that my husband always tells my sons in business that you can learn about just as much about the not things to do. So do not, I'm gonna have to fix that. Okay, and then we put this pretty mossy meadow in here. You can learn from people's mistakes, let's put it that way. So don't do as I did, do as I say. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna put that mossy meadow one right over that one. And there we go. You have the outline to follow. And this, before it gets too adhered, I think I'm gonna try to pull this up a little bit before the glue is really set. Okay. And then I'm just gonna trim. You could also have popped this up with dimensionals. I'm going to trim that edge off. Okay, there we go. It worked. So it really would have been nice to even pop these up, but look how you can still see the veining on these other leaves, but yet you've got that punch of color from these ones. So I think I actually might try that, popping it up with dimensionals as well. So then we have our sentiments, and like I said, I wanted to use 2 of the sentiments, and so I'm gonna put these 2 on here like this, and I can put them anywhere, you know, on the card that I would like. You could do it up here, you could do it right in the middle. I kind of like it. I should have thought about the colors. Okay, so let's actually get this one adhered to here. Okay, so let's just line that up so the words are straight with that. As you can see, the sentiments in this die set You're amazing in every single way. Thank you. Here for you. This fits in this little tiny die here. A little note to brighten your day we're going to use. And I couldn't have done it without you. So this is a really cute set. And now I'm thinking it's probably good that we didn't pop those up with dimensionals, because now we can pop this up. And I'm sitting here wondering, not sitting, standing here wondering if I should put some fun twine on here underneath this. So if this was popped up, no, I think I'm just going to put some sequins on there. I was cleaning off a long overdue pile. So let's put this, like if I had this to do over again, I would have switched these colors, because now to me, I have, well, I don't know, maybe no, I kind of like that right there in the middle, because I would have had maybe the Mossy Meadow up here and then this color over here, but that's just me. I found this on my desk and I wondered, where did that come from? It could have been from the sequins from the last catalog, but I think it was from the most beautiful Painted Wishes kit that we have on the online exclusives. It is so gorgeous, so gorgeous. My girls did it at class last month whenever I was recovering from surgery. So they definitely give you more in those kits than you actually need. So you always have the little leftovers, just from your paper pumpkins as well. You'll have little leftover pieces. So I just put a couple of these, oop, stuck to my sticky finger. I put a few of those sequins here. You could put some metallics in there, but look at that cute card. Just embossed the front, stamped these using the Stamparatus, and we have this pretty card. Now, as I said, this would go on the inside here, but I have to fix this. How do I fix that? I will have to see. I think what I could do is I'm going to cut off this edge. I'm going to cut off how far it was, and then I'm going to put this here. And then you know what I could do? I could put a color down here. What color do we think we should do? The Mossy Meadow? I think the Mossy Meadow. I think I have some Mossy Meadow here. How to fix a card. So let me grab a piece of Mossy Meadow that is over here. Okay. And I think this will work. I'm going to pop the Mossy Meadow down on the bottom. So let's just put this on here. Once again, remember what my husband teaches them. Learn from my mistakes. Because sometimes your prettiest cards come from fixing a mistake, right? Adding an embellishment, adding a piece of ribbon. So what I'm going to do is line this up so I have a nice border at the top. And I'm showing as my card base the peacock, which was in my color palette. Then I have the wild wheat. And then I'm just going to put on the Mossy Meadow at the bottom. And that fixed my blunder. Okay, so I'm just going to put some glue here. Pop this down so that I have the same amount of space on the left and the right. What would be pretty here too is some if this was embossed or something, that would look pretty. But I kind of fixed my mistake there. See if I end up doing something more fun there. Okay, one card done, and now we have went through a 24-hour period. But the next card I'm going to show you is super easy to do. I used a color palette of garden green and your traditional colors of Cajun craze, crushed curry, and orange, and I just die cut all the leaves, die cut a sentiment, and then I did this here. I made this for, and why is this not the right size? It should be longer. I think I thought it was the right size. So we're gonna find something interesting to do with that one too. What should we put down there, kids? I see a piece of crushed curry. That's what we're gonna put down there. Isn't that crazy? Let me cut a strip there. I don't know why that one was cut. Okay, a way to fix our mistakes. So let's do this. There we go. We've got that order. Now what we could do, because I want to see this leaf, I'm just going to pop this under. Okay, so here's the card. There we go. I'm going to pop this under here. I'm going to pretend that this was a video saying how to fix your mistakes. Now we just want to have that bordered under at the bottom. I have the inside of the card peeking through that's throwing me off. Let's just consider this was a time for us to spend some time together. And then somebody will comment on YouTube saying, you wasted an hour I can never get back. Okay, so we've got a little piece of yellow at the bottom. We're going to put our, and I'm going to find something fun to do down there too. We're going to put our sentiment. Isn't that a cute sentiment? We're going to put that on here, here, and here. And we're going to layer some of those pretty flowers. And I want to do a nice big bow. So what I'm going to do is I took two pieces of linen, okay? And what I'm going to do is make a really, 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 really big bow, okay? Really, really big. But I want enough of it to kind of go under so that I have some texture showing. This has been my new fun thing to do, is layer them. I've been telling the girls, just make a big bow and then put the middle of the bow, there we go, put it under there. So now it kind of has that, there we go. And then we're going to slide, it kind of has that, it makes it work for you. Okay, now one thing I did here is I put a little bit of tape on the back of my leaves so that I left a few of the die cuts in there. It gave it some more texture. I thought that was cool. It wasn't meant to do that on purpose, but I thought, oh, well, if you want it to be on purpose, you're gonna have to do something about that. So I'm gonna stick this leaf in behind the sentiment there. You've got some pretty cage in there. And then I'm going to put the crushed curry in there too. Put a little bit of glue on the crushed curry. And I'm going to put that at the top here. And by doing that, I'm pulling the curry from the bottom of the card, which, like I said, is going to need a little bit of fun. And then I'm going to stick this orange pumpkin pie right actually on the label. Get that twine up there so that the twine is sticking there. And there we go with the pumpkin pie. And I'm just going to pop this up because this actually has a dimensional. And if you get it to where your card is actually kind of a little lopsided, you can always pop back in a dimensional underneath after the fact. So here's a mini one. And I'm thinking I want to stick this in there to pop that up. Okay. And then I am going to, you can actually leave these here and pull them apart, or you can also cut them, but I'm gonna leave them. They kind of look kind of cool there like that. So I do want to put some embellishments on here too. So let's see about, I am not even totally sure where these came from yet. but I am assured that you guys have a lot of embellishments laying around. So I don't think anybody's going to be mad if I use some embellishments, because sometimes you guys might not even have ordered the embellishments yet from Stamping Up, and then you're like, oh, I used my copper accents or something like that. But I think this pretty, actually, to tell you the truth, I think this for cape came from a kit too. So just remember, when you do get a kit, it's not just what you, but I really think these orange pumpkin pie embellishments really add a little pizzazz to that. And then I'm going to do something down here too that's going to be finishing up that card. So we've got two cards doing two different little techniques. They're just using the embossed front, using the dies that are in the set. What is this? Ah, piece of scrap there. I was like, what is that? So you're using the dies that are in there with just a plain thing. And then the last card I want to show you what I did is, remember we had this blank piece. We had this blank piece, right? Well, I had a blank piece from doing one of other things. This is what I did with that thank you. I just cut it down. I put the die the one way, and then I put the die back on where I wanted it, and then you just gently pull the die, and you'll feel it kind of lock into the stitched place. Tape it down and run it through, and you've got a custom-made sentiment there. Now, what I did on this card is I wanted to use designer series paper to peek through here. I also wanted a border. So what I did with this border here is the card itself, this just happened to be an 8.5 scored at 4 1/4, and it was 5.5 inch high. So I'm going to put this down as my border here, and I think I'm safe to do that. Yes. So let's put that down. I could have punched something out of the middle, but I didn't, but I should have, because then why waste all that real estate in there? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I cut this layer down to 3 3/4 by 5. So I can either use this pretty leaf pattern and put these leaves on here, the die cut, or I can put this wild wheat stripe from our In Colors and do this. I actually like that. So what you would have to do is figure out, like, what do you want? Do you want to see a little bit of all the leaves? I think that's a good idea. So go ahead and put glue on all these little fiddly places, okay? You probably want to get out your craft mat, because I can show you now that you're going to, where's my craft mat? Here it is, underneath some ink pads, okay? Because I can tell you when I go to put this down, and if you have your glass mat, I do have my glass mat, but there's just, I don't have it on here yet. So you can play around and see how you can get a couple of the different leaves on there, okay? And you can see an outline of the leaves. Glue that down. You can do your wood grain going this way or this way. It looks like I'm using it this way, but that is just our timber embossing folder. And then come back, and you can either go on your, you could cut this on your trimmer, or you can just come back and trim off from this side. But this side doesn't have any adhesive on it, so I need to get some on there. Okay, there we go. And we will just trim this down. Okay, and then pop over here and trim this. Now you notice on all these cards we're using all the scraps. So we're using that embossing folder for all it's worth. We fixed a few mistakes. People will be wondering when I post it, like, why does she have that piece of paper there? Why? The card was fine without it. Well, we had to cover up our mistakes. So this one, just be very careful you don't cut into the DSP. But you want this DSP and this piece to be 3 3/4 by 5 so that you have a border around it, okay? And you could have used that flowered side. I just thought the stripes really worked, but now I'm thinking maybe I should have done the leaves, because this leaf is very similar to the leaves, that one big leaf in there. Okay, so there we go. And see, that delineates, it breaks up you have the color of the wild wheat here, but that peacock breaks it up. And then we just put this sentiment on here. And I think we should put some linen thread under that sentiment as well. So let's pop some of that out here. And we'll just get a big piece here. I found that I had 5 of these linen threads open. I was like looking for it. I'm like, oh, there's one, there's one, there's one. So I have one big baggie full of the linen thread, but I always am using it. That's why I stuck it in my Busy Bee bags last month, because it's just so versatile. This time I'm going to just make a thin one, just one, and then I'm going to put that there, put some dimensionals on the back of this die. This die cut, my brain is now thinking how I'm going to fix all my little mistakes, so that whenever you go to my blog and see the photos, that they looked so amazing. So, oh, I'm just thinking too that I need to put a glue dot. I just rolled up a glue dot to put under the middle of this bow so that it is there. Now we can get our sentiment on there. There you go. Let's see, I think my dimensional, I'm going to take off this middle dimensional because there's that level of the bow there. I am like, really, I wasn't going to get this leaf set, and now that I got it, I'm really glad I did, because it is really versatile. The first thing that was putting me off about it was, like I said, the leaves weren't together to stamp together, but you saw how I easily rectified that. So just cut a little bit of this down and add a few more of these. Wait, how about here? And get a little one. And like I said, you can use a whole bunch of different embellishments that you have laying around. How about one more of these big ones? And like I said, we have so many coordinating. That's one thing about Stampin' Up. We have so many different coordinating pieces that we can do. So here we go. We just used the negative that was left over, and we ran it through the embossing folder, got some texture, and just used DSP as the background. This one, we just embossed it, used the die cuts, and jazzed that up. Added this on because I made a mistake. This one, we embossed the white. Then we went back and we didn't inlay it, but we pushed the stamp die cut onto the embossed places where it was to add that together. So I might have another actual card too, because we could do an inlay technique too. So I may have a quartet of cards for you. So thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me today. I enjoyed it, and I hope you got some tips and tricks, because this is a pretty fantastic die set. Big leaves, sentiments, lacy leaf accents, and some pretty fun sentiments there. So the changing leaves, now remember, this is not in the annual catalog. This is in the online exclusives. When you go to the Stampin' Up website, up in the top left-hand corner, there are things, and if you press the menu, you're going to see where it says online exclusives. I have a picture of it on my blog as well, so you can recognize it when you see it. But there are so many things in the online exclusives they're releasing. Also, there are some things that carry over from other catalogs that you think might have not been available, but they're still available online. So just take a look, get used to using the Stampin' Up website. If you don't use a computer at home, get used to doing it on your phone. I think you'll see that there's a lot more out there than what you're just seeing in the new catalog. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.